Hello, good evening, welcome, and thank you for joining us here at this interactive live stream event with Honda and with Bennett's Bike Social. In fact, thank you for choosing us over, well, I presume Emmerdale, isn't it, 7 o'clock on a Wednesday? My name is Michael Mann, I'm a motorcycle journalist with Bennett, so I work on the Bike Social website. Joining us this evening, Alan Scott. Alan, hi.
Hi.
You all right?
Hi, Michael. Yeah, good, thank you, yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly, yeah. My name's Alan Scott. I'm a professional trainer. I specialise in the automotive industry and I've worked with Honda motorcycles for about 18 years. I'm here to give a little bit of product insight as we go through our discussions this evening, but also I'm a rider, and up until this year, for obvious reasons, I usually average somewhere around 30,000 miles a year on a motorcycle, so hopefully I'll bring some of that real world rider experience as well, and we can include those in the discussions as well.
Fascinating stuff. 30,000 miles?
Yep.
Oh, I can't compete with that. Well, my day job sees me riding all sorts of different bikes, probably 30 or so a year. And that means I've got to be familiar with all sorts across the whole range, from scooters to sports bikes, tourers to adventure bikes and everything else in the middle. And it's that kind of familiarization that we're going to try and bring to you this evening, certainly over the next hour. We've got two real icons of the motorcycling world, motorcycling history here, with the latest versions of Africa Twin and of Goldwing. Names that are synonymous with touring, comfort, luxury even, and we've got the latest models here with us tonight, and we're going to be taking you through, taking a closer look at each of them. So whether you're planning on doing some big touring into Europe, or maybe not right now, but certainly in the UK, we've got some spectacular roads, some wonderful scenery, so much so that actually Alan took the film crew and a fellow journalist, Adam, to Yorkshire with a couple of these models just last week. We've got a fantastic film coming up for you. You can have a look at that just to see what the bikes are like in the a real world situation. We're also, because we're live, we can take your questions and we'll do our very best to answer them. So please get them in. You can enter them now on the live stream, or if you want to email them in, you can do so. All the details are in the description below. And well, once the show is finished, get yourself down to a dealership, or maybe tomorrow, anytime within the next 2 weeks, and you can be in with a chance of getting hold of a Honda Racing BSB Polo shirt. But coming up, first of all, we're going to take a little look at the Goldwing range. So in this first part of the show, we're going to look at a bit of an overview of this range of the Goldwing. It's an iconic part of the Honda history and the current Honda range as well. It's the flagship tourer. It's all about comfort and luxury. Some might say it's the epitome of those two things. But first of all, Alan, what bikes constitute the range?
Well, Michael, you've got two models in the range at the moment, the Goldwing and Goldwing Tour. And both bikes are aimed at a specific use, really. The first thing I'm going to say about Goldwing, though, is don't think of it as a Goldwing. I know it's an iconic range, it's a brand in its own right, but don't think of it as a Goldwing. Think of it as a motorcycle. Because once you get on the bike and you ride the bike and you feel how it responds, and we'll talk about some of the technology on the bike that helps it to do that later on, but once you get on the bike, you find that it's equally as exciting as anything else on the road. It's got more quality, more luxury feel. You know, it is that product that sits at the top of the tree. I was lucky enough to spend a couple of days on them in Yorkshire last week, and even though I'm experienced with the previous model, and I'm a big fan of big tourers, it still took me by surprise as being such a great, easy bike to ride, dead easy to ride. You know, we were having to do some really tricky U-turns and some quite hilly areas as we were setting up for some of the shots, and Chad took us on some really kind of challenging roads, as well as some nice long stretches. And I just found the bike to be so versatile. Both models as well, we've got DCT and a manual, so that dual clutch transmission, and we've got the rider modes and everything we'll talk about as we go through, but the bike is set up this year. It's got a new double wishbone front suspension. You've got electronic adjustable suspension on the Tour. And there's a couple of other differences across the bikes as well. In terms of the application of the tyre pressure monitors, is slightly different on the two bikes. And you've got the adjustable suspension on the Tour, as well as the airbag option as well. And obviously the luggage trunk or top box, which just adds that extra kind of capacity for the longer tours. But yeah, the main thing for me was just the ease of riding these bikes. And they can be, you know, when you look at them, they look quite large. But like I say, once you get on them, the way the power is delivered, and it's 1833 cylinder cc engine, which gives an awful lot of torque right from the off. So dead easy to ride. Not intimidating at all. The center of gravity is really low, so really maneuverable. And don't forget, you've got the reverse gear, or the reverse function I should say, because it's not actually a gear, on the manual. And on the DCT, you've got reverse and forward crawl modes as well, just to help the maneuverability at really low speed. And you know, our car park was a gravel car park, so you can imagine day one, out riding with Honda, tell me to get on a Goldwing, and it's in a gravel car park. It wasn't the most confident start for me, but within a couple of minutes of sitting on the bike, it's actually, this is really easy to ride.
Isn't it just? Yeah, I find that function just so useful, especially when you're trying to manoeuvre. Perhaps
Absolutely.
if you're a little bit short, or if you're not so confident with moving that weight around, it's so easy.
Yeah, absolutely. When you add that to the functionality, and again, we're going to talk about this on all machines today.
Well, of course, it's had such an interesting and fascinating history, Goldwing. It's been around for many, many years. It's quite an icon within motorcycling. Its appearance has changed over the years. That first generation was 1975, and it was an unfaired GL1000. I think this is the fifth iteration, or the fifth generation now, after 45 years, and it's a fascinating history. All right, so that's enough about Goldwing for now. We're going to take a little look at the Africa Twin lineup. Here we are among the Africa Twin lineup for 2020, but of course the Africa Twin name itself, the CRF 1000L, was rejuvenated in 2016 and became one of the most popular adventure bikes in the market. I believe that in 2019 they were selling around 500 per week globally. And here we are among the CRF 1100L, and it's the 2020 version of Africa Twin. Alan, here's the range. Do you want to talk us through what we can see here?
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. So what Honda have done this year is they've split the range slightly. So we've got Africa Twin Adventure Sport, and then we've got Africa Twin Adventure Sport with electronic suspension. And all models are available in both manual and dual clutch transmission, or DCT, which we'll take a closer look at later on. And what we've got here is an option for the off-road focused motorcyclist. We've got the slimmed down version, 14 kilos lighter, lower screen, slightly smaller tank. And for those that are more predominantly road orientated, a larger tank, taller screen, and the option for electronics suspension as well. So instead of trying to create that compromise in the middle, they recognise the two types of riders and provided an option for both. Electronics on both, so the rider modes and obviously dual clutch transmission, which I've already mentioned, just create an all-round package. It means actually whichever one you choose, you can pretty much do the other job on it as well. So we'll take a closer look at the Africa Twin, the technology, and the DCT later on in the live stream.
So one of the primary focuses with the Africa Twin, of course, is adventure and comfort and the ability to do lots of miles. And we're seeing a bit of a difference between the models. We've already highlighted that. So the big difference between the two visually is the screen, but also in terms of its, I don't know, width, let's say. We've got an 18.8 litre tank versus a 24.8 litre.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the big difference between the weight, and presumably then it's the lighter version, the smaller tank one, which is going to be more appropriate for doing a bit of off-road.
Yeah, well, what I found last week we took the bikes up to Yorkshire, and what I found on the Africa Twin is a lot easier to stand up on. It's really comfortable when you're hitting those gravel tracks, and I'm not an off-road rider, so it gave me a lot more confidence. But actually I do a lot of motorway miles, so for me it's the slightly bigger tank, the great ergonomics, lots of wind protection. You can sit on a motorway there and get lots of tank range off that without worrying about having to stop for fueling and stuff. So it really is whatever type of riding you do. For me, I would go for the Adventure Sport because of the type of riding I do, but I really did enjoy the Africa Twin off-road, which, like I say, I'm not an off-road rider, so it was a little bit scary. We'll see some of my off-road ability later on. You'll be impressed.
So one of the big differences between the outgoing model versus the 2020 model, the 1100, is the sophistication with the electronics particularly. There's a whole load of changes with the enhancement of the gearbox, of the engine, of the comfort, of the ergonomics, but particularly around the, one of the key points, if you're coming into a dealership and you're looking at one of these motorcycles, you can see the dual screen and you can see it's got plenty of extra buttons.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll take a real close look later on at how to navigate your way around those buttons really easy. It took me about 5 or 6 minutes to sit down and just find my way around, and that way I didn't have to look at the switch gear as I was riding. The way you can set the bike up with the rider modes, the suspension, the torque control, even the anti-wheelie, which I didn't really need for myself personally, gives you the confidence to know that you've got the bike set up for the way you are. And I look at this from a different point of view to most people in this sort of position, Michael, as in I'm a road rider. I do a lot of miles every year. I do it on the motorway. I have to be out on the road in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, and in the baking hot sunshine. And I just find that these modes and the way the bike's set up just allow me to really tailor the bike to suit me based on my needs at that time. So, it gives me those options. There's more power. The bikes are more responsive. They're really refined to the types of customers. So going back to what you said about the amount of bikes that have been sold, one thing that Honda does really, really well is that evolution. They take a bike, they sell loads, they provide or get lots and lots of feedback from their customers, and then refine the bikes as they go along. So I think now we've got such a pinnacle of the bike. It's going to be a challenge for them to improve on it, I think, personally. And like I say, having ridden them in Yorkshire last week, and we did have some really hot days, which was great. I really enjoyed riding the bike, and it was quite a good little adventure.
You didn't necessarily need the heated grips then?
No, not at all. No, it was about 35, 40 degrees. But what I did need was to switch between the rider modes. We were on windy roads, we were on small tracks, we were turning around and U-turning on gravel paths. We took a couple of little off-road trips as well, which was a bit brave for me. But just being able to switch onto the gravel or the off-road mode. And one of the things I found, for example, we turned onto a dirt track, and I tried to keep up with Chad, who I was riding with at the time, and I twisted the throttle and it started to spin, but then the traction control kicked in, took the power away, kept me straight, give me the confidence to know that I'm not going to have a mishap or whatever. So just put a grin on my face really, because it was there for me, for my level. And like I say, you can tailor it to suit your level, so really cool.
It's good you talk about the versatility of the bike and all of the functions, and it does mean that it's attractive for a whole wide range of riders. So I think it puts the fun into functionality, and that's one of the phrases that I read on our own website when we talked about the review of this particular bike. But yeah, versatility and functionality, it means that the bike or the range, you're attracting so many different types of people, and you've already mentioned it about your first time off-road, or if you've never been off-road, then the bike has got you. Okay, well, we're going to come back a little bit later on and look at these bikes in a lot more detail. But coming right up, we've got the answers to some of your questions. Well, we've got some great questions coming in already. Thank you so much for those. I don't know how confident you're feeling, Alan.
Now you've got your game show cards out, not too confident.
You've got plenty of lifelines.
Good.
I don't know about asking the audience, I'm no good at this thing. Actually, I'm just going to start with a response to a gentleman who's emailed in, John Carlisle. John, your a very detailed and specific question is probably best handled away from this forum. We've got one of the Honda technicians who's going to get in touch with you about your query. Moving on, Charles Raleigh from the Honda Goldwing Owners Group. ask a question about Goldwing, obviously. Is it possible that owners of the Goldwing will be able to update the GPS maps themselves, and with what regularity?
Good question. The simple answer is no. It needs to be done by a dealer. It's quite a lengthy process plugging it in, updating. The updates will be, so your dealer will notify you when the updates are available. Although if you're in the Goldwing Owners Club, you'll probably be aware at the same time, if not before. And but like I say, your dealers will support you and get that plugged in and updated as and when they become available. Sometimes they like to tie that in with servicing as well, so kill a few birds with one stone. There's the updates are free of charge, and they're supported for up to 15 years. So you can have complete confidence, know that you're going to have an up-to-date system.
Great, excellent. Second question, Simon Davidson asks, where can I test a Goldwing? Do all dealers stock them?
Brilliant. No, they don't. There is a specialist network set up of Goldwing specialists. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And all those specialists will stock both manual and DCT dual clutch transmission bikes, so you'll be able to test the range and obviously all the accessories and stuff.
Speaking of DCT, Narinder Jahal says, how do you control DCT during a slow U-turn?
Good question, good question. And it's quite a difficult one because everybody U-turns slightly different anyway. I'll tell you what I did when we was in Yorkshire, and it's, you know, you're there, I'm on Honda's bikes, didn't want to drop one. U-turn can always be a bit challenging sometimes. But this is what I do. I get my engine speed set with the throttle, and I control my road speed with my rear brake. So what I tend to do is pick the lane or the line I'm going to go through, get my speed correct, control the speed with the rear brake, and then when I'm ready, I turn into the U-turn. Now I must say, I U-turn these bikes at least 50 times over the course of filming, so I can say with complete confidence it's a relatively easy procedure. I've done it uphill, downhill, on gravel, everywhere, so we really did test that actual...
I'm looking over your shoulder there, Alan, and I can't see any scratches.
No,
so
there's no scratches.
Get away with it.
They're all on the other side, but, but no, it's relatively easy. I think it's one of those things, you know, mindset is need to grab the clutch and ride the clutch a little bit. Reality is, if you just adjust your mindset a little bit, think about the controls and how they work, you can control your engine speed and your road speed with the two controls on your right hand side, and once you get that in mind, it is relatively easy to turn. But it is a lot of questions around DCT revolve around just, you know, getting your head around how it operates. Once you've done that, it's easy.
Yeah, as with all these things, practice makes perfect ultimately.
Absolutely.
The more you do it, the better you get at it. And of course, I think it was almost a challenge, isn't it? So as soon as you can complete it without putting your foot down, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, and U-turns are quite difficult. I know when I'm riding my wife, and when I do a U-turn, I'll say to her on the mic, you know, as we come out the U-turn, I'll always say skills, and just proud that I've not dropped the bike. So, yeah,
you mentioned Yorkshire. I think we're going to head there next. We have some fantastic footage. I mentioned it earlier on when the boys went up there last week to test out a few of these bikes. Here's a little game for you as well. Check out the number of times the word Nadgery is used.
We're here in the North Yorkshire Moors. We're going to be spending a couple of days riding Africa Twins and Goldwings. I'm joined by Chad. Now, Chad, you're not Michael, are you?
No, sadly, unfortunately, Michael can't be here, but it's your game because this is my back garden. This is Sledmere. This is right on the edge of the North Yorkshire Moors. So day one, we're going to take the Africa Twins up into the moors, some challenging roads, a little bit of off-road, and some nice fast open sweepers. Day two, we'll take the Wings. Again, we'll go on some nice Nadgery roads because the Wings are more than capable of doing, and then we'll drop down onto the seafront at Scarborough, turn up the music, and I'll treat you to a fish and chip at the end of the day.
I've heard about the fish and chips, and we're going to get a chance to use the DCT both on and off-road.
Both bikes we can use DCT on and off-road, and we'll have a little bit of traffic, but both bikes have got more than enough power for quick overtakes. It's going to be a good few days.
Brilliant, looking forward to it.
Welcome to Yorkshire.
Thank you. So Chad, end of day one, we've been out on the Africa Twins. I've had a brilliant day, some real good mix of roads. How have you found them?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it because the mixture of roads, you know, off-road, on-road, winding open, flowing stuff, and some real nadgery stuff over cattle grids where you've got to be a bit cautious and rely on the rider aids that are now got, you know, the lean traction control and the lean ABS. On off-road, it's really interesting to ride the two and find that the semi-active suspension changes when you go onto off-road. So it's a lot easier. And yourself, how have you found it?
Yeah, brilliant. I've not got as much off-road experience as you, so using the different modes and switching into gravel or off-road when we went on those tracks gave me a lot more confidence because I knew when I pushed on the throttle it wasn't going to whip me off. So I was able to keep up a little bit more. So I've really enjoyed it. It gave me a lot more confidence.
Tomorrow is Goldwing Day.
What have you got in store?
We've got, well, it's a beautiful background. I mean, we can go anywhere. So we're going to incorporate some nice nadgery stuff because the wings will take that, and then we've got some nice big open flowing, and then we're going to end up on the Scarborough seafront. We'll ride along, get the tunes playing, look good.
Brilliant. As long as you don't play Spice Girls again.
I've got Now 11 ready to go.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. We're at the end of day two, riding around the North Yorkshire moors on a Goldwing and Goldwing tour. Chad, what are your thoughts?
It's my back garden, and I don't think I've ever ridden Yorkshire in such comfort. So I've been on the standard bike, which is a little bit lighter, electric screen, no need for a clutch, DCT, just sit back and relax. Cruise control, I've got connectivity, so if I want to put in my tunes, I can do and read text messages. But to be honest, I just like to just sit back, chill out, no gear changes, and just enjoy it. It's quite nice that you can change the rider mode that changes the suspension and changes when it changes gear. And I love to see how the front forks move underneath the clock.
Yeah, I like
it's a bit addictive when you're riding a really bumpy road and they're moving like crazy, but you're in perfect comfort.
You can see how quickly it's working, but actually you're just gliding along.
Yeah. It's like a swan swimming. Yeah. Feet underneath going crazy and gliding on the top.
And the power, how'd you find the power? I found coming up some of those hills and that, it's just so easy just to blip up and get past them.
It's so easy to blip up, and if you want to do an overtake or you're going up a steep hill, you can flick to sport and then it'll automatically change down gears for you. So it's dead easy. I mean, it's got so much torque, it'll uproot trees. It's dead easy.
Yeah, and then when you want to wind down and just cruise along, again, it's so smooth, comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. And in this heat, it's been nice to drop the screen, you get the breeze, and then when you get going a bit quicker, up with the electric screen, you get a bit protected
well, I've had
visor up.
that extra air vent on here, which has been really useful actually, going through today.
Yeah. So how have you enjoyed Yorkshire?
Yeah, brilliant, beautiful roads, amazing scenery, amazing roads, you know. I think it's great just to have that mix from like the hilly bits up and down, and then we've had a couple of good straight bits where you can really kind of open up a little bit and enjoy the bike a little bit more.
Yeah,
the weather's been great as well.
The benefit here is you can go from the coastline here at Scarborough, you can go to fast stuff, nadgery stuff, beautiful dales, whether you're out in the middle of nowhere. You've got a real combination in a short area as well. You don't have to do a huge amount of miles to experience 4 or 5 different roads.
Yeah, brilliant. So I've had a really enjoyable day, you?
Yeah, just time for a fish and chip, seafront, job done.
Perfect, brilliant.
Well, that looks a lot of fun. How on earth did I miss out on that? I was absolutely gutted. It looked like you had a fabulous time.
Amazing time, Michael, really amazing. And on a number of levels, really. I mean, Chad obviously knows the area really well, so he could really pick the roads for us. And he didn't give us the easy option. He picked roads that would test the bikes and us to the limit, really. And it was fun. And for me, the surprise was how great this bike was. On a mixture of roads, you know, we were having to U-turn on tiny roads, up and down small hills, and then onto long sections, and we really got to fully understand the benefits of a bike like this. Simple functions like one of mine favourites again is the windscreen. It's just such an easy function to use, And yet, you know, when you're on a longer road, it gets a bit buffety. You can put the screen up, and again, you can put it down when you're trying to track through. There's an additional ventilation in there as well.
It's an absolute doddle. Is that the left-hand bar, isn't it?
Yeah, just very simple button right next to your volume. Loads of functionality on the screen. Sat nav integrated, Apple CarPlay, and on the Tour model you've got your suspension settings as well.
Can't get those two buttons mixed up when you've got Justin Bieber blaring.
No, we had Spice Girls actually, which is quite funny. That shouldn't have been on my playlist. But yeah, just a really great day. And a couple of things about the bike I really love. So you've got the double wishbone suspension at the front end. And there's two things about this that really smack you in the face really, is you can get to see the suspension working and you really see how hard it's working, while at the same time the bike is as smooth as anything. It's just such a pleasure to ride. Nice big wide comfy seat, but it doesn't put you off the ground too much. You can get your feet down nice and easy. The drivability of the engine is just, the power's there when you want it, but it's not frightening. It comes on really smooth. There's 4 modes on this bike. So you've got Sport, Tour, Economy mode and Rain mode. And you can really tell the difference when you go into Sport. The bike really picks itself up. So if you're a fast rider, you like a bit of power on tap, then that's all you're ever going to need. For me, I like to settle down on the main roads, click it into Tour, and I'd probably even go into Eco mode if I was doing longer journeys as well, although the bike does have a great tank range anyway. There's a little cubby hole here which allows you to put your iPod in and connect to Apple CarPlay. First thing I did, hence the Spice Girls. And on the Tour model, you've got heated seats as well, which is a comfort for
front and back.
Front and back.
Pillion gets a heated seat too.
Switch gear is really good. You know, when you're stationary, you've got the switch gear straight in front of you, and you've got your heated seat and heated handlebar controls on there. You've got a central dial which allows you to navigate through the menus as well as enter, and then you've got hand switch gear, which is just well spaced, easy to use. And again, you'll often hear me say this, before I ever go off and ride a motorcycle, I make my way around the controls to make sure I don't have to look at them whilst I'm riding. And again, you find the navigation is really easy once you get the enter button, return button, home button, you know where you're going from there. You can really start to use it easily. Full tyre pressure monitor system on the Tour. You've got tyre pressure monitoring warning on the Goldwing. Yeah, just really comfortable, but powerful as well, and easy to ride, really sporty, but really kind of, you know, gives you that quality feel.
So the big difference between the previous generation and this generation was predominantly the lack of weight, so the loss of weight, plus that wishbone suspension, double wishbone suspension, and the sophistication with the specifically the TFT display, the Apple CarPlay, the way in which the whole cockpit is laid out. It's taken that level of sophistication up a notch, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it works. It's such an easy bike to ride. I've ridden previous models and I've thoroughly enjoyed those models, and I got onto this with an expectation, like everybody does, and within a few minutes you'll find that actually, yeah, this is a really good bike to ride. It's got all the comfort you're ever going to need. It's got a fantastic ergonomical seating position. You've got plenty of wind protection. You've got great visibility. The dash is easy to navigate. It's not too overcomplicated like some machines can be. It's dead easy to navigate through. Nice clear signage, as Honda always does. Things like hill start assist. So again, when you come to a set of traffic lights and you're on a slight incline, you can just squeeze the brake a little bit and it will put on the hill start assist for you and allow you just to control the machine before you move off as well. So yeah, just functional. We talk about this a lot. Really functional, really comfortable. It does exactly what it says on the tin. And I tell you what, I came off this bike absolutely grinning. So you did miss out, absolutely.
I remember riding it in the Isle of Man a couple of years ago when the 2018, this generation, was just out. And I deliberately wanted to get on it and just ride. I didn't want to worry about options and modes and things like that. It was a case of get on it and just go. And it worked perfectly. And it was just absolutely ideal. You know, it got to ride from north to south. Okay, on the Isle of Man, it's not that far, but the point is that it doesn't have to be big, long highways and motorways where this is at home, because I'm sure, as you found last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we said this throughout our Yorkshire trip, the Goldwing, big miles, the Tour, bigger miles, you know, and it's as simple as that. And when you're on a bike for, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, you need something that's going to be comfortable, that's going to, you know, allow you to maintain your attention on the road and be safe, yet still enjoy the machine and enjoy motorcycling. I think it was Steve McQueen said something like, you know, driving a car allows you to, it's like being in a movie. It's like watching a movie, but riding a motorcycle is like being in the movie. And this really gives you that kind of that view of the road. And like I say, we had some fantastic roads to cover last week, some beautiful scenery. And I wasn't afraid to take my eyes off the road for a couple of seconds and enjoy the environment, enjoy the places we were in. Beautiful hot days as well, which made it great. But yeah, just really enjoyed the whole riding experience, which is absolutely key, I guess.
All right, fantastic. I really do regret not being in Yorkshire after all that. Okay, your turn next. You ask the questions and we'll do our best to answer them. And we're back in with our second set of questions already. Thank you for sending what you have done through already. We've got 2 more after this, so don't be scared. Get them in. Test us. Well, test Alan. All I've got to do is read them out. And here we go. So, all right, we'll start with the first one. Harriet Taylor asked on email, can you fit 2 full-face helmets in the top box? Actually, I'll take that one if you don't mind.
Sure.
You phoned a friend already. When we were doing some rehearsals yesterday, we were messing around. We're doing some careful
research,
careful consumer research. But yes, you can. We've got 2 full-face helmets. In fact, you've got 2 full-face helmets in the bike over my shoulder here to my right. So yes, the answer is yes. You can fit 2 full-face helmets reasonably comfortably in the Goldwing Tour top box, and there's room for a toothbrush. All right, moving on. David Eistead asks, can Honda fit a rear braking system with a front left side lever?
Okay, good question. There is no off-the-shelf solution, but if you speak to your local Honda dealer, I'm sure they can come up with either a local engineer or some kind of aftermarket solution. I know it has been done and it is possible, so if that's the way you want to go, then absolutely go and ask your dealer and they'll be able to support you in that, I'm pretty sure.
Great stuff. We've got a question in from a user called I Can Slightly Fly, who asks, what are the plans for an Africa Twin 850?
Ah, fantastic. Well, today we're talking about these models, and as Honda always are, very tight-lipped about new models up and coming. We haven't had any information confirmed or denied, and I do constantly ask the question, what's coming next, but they don't let me know all the time. But what I would say is, keep your eye on this space, because if you're a Honda fan, you'll know that Honda are constantly evolving and developing their range of bikes. So it wouldn't surprise me whatever comes up next in the range. But yeah, good question.
You're such a professional, you didn't break sweat. That's a tough one.
That's my shooting hand.
Tony Hill, he was keen, emailed and came on the chat as well. When will Honda get Android CarPlay working on Goldwing?
It's a difficult question, but I'm going to answer it with right now. It's available. I know we talk about CarPlay at the moment because that's a new feature, but Android Auto is already on the bike, so you should be able to connect straight away.
Update, wasn't it, on
yeah,
the Goldwing?
Absolutely,
yeah, good stuff. Steve Tordoff asks, can you turn ABS off on the Africa Twin for off-road use?
Me, no, never, because I need it. But yes, you can. In the rider settings, you can go in and switch it off. You can adjust the power, the engine braking, the torque, and you can switch the ABS off for off-road riding, should you wish to.
There you are, Stephen. Plenty of skids and wheelies, eh? All right, good question, Ashley, and it links quite nicely to the next section. We're going to find out a little bit more about Africa Twin. Welcome back. Well, earlier on we looked at the overview of the Africa Twin range. Alan, we're going to take a little deep dive, for want of a better expression, into the technology, the sophistication, the bits that stand out on all these models. I guess the first thing to talk about is that fantastic touchscreen display there.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you all the information you need at a glance. You've also got the dual screen, so you've got all your rider information on the bottom anyway. So if you do want to ignore it, you can, but you've got a selection of displays. You can switch between your rider modes, and it's really easy to manipulate as well. One of the things I found when I first got on the bike was just to spend a few minutes getting to know the switchgear, and there is a real good logic to the navigation between it. And I'll just show you as from my point of view. The first thing I found is the 2 key buttons for me were the enter and the back button, and I can just place my thumb there, and I've got the joint of my thumb to hit the enter, and then the back on the pad of my thumb. And from there I could work the other navigation buttons through. I've got my function button at the top here, and my display button as well. So within about 4 or 5 minutes before I even set off, I knew I could navigate through the screens pretty easily without having to look at the switchgear, which always gives you more confidence when you're riding, particularly if you're off-road. And on the right handlebar, you've got cruise control. So it's really easy just to press the button and set the speed you want to go to. And the cruise control will maintain the bike at the speed you're riding at. If you do dab on the brake or the clutch, it will come off, and then you can just resume by pressing that button again. So I find that a great feature, particularly on the motorway, and especially, Michael, if you're in one of those speed restricted zones. You know, 50 mile an hour, we all love them, don't we? But you can set it to 50 miles an hour and know that you're not going to get caught.
It's pretty convenient, isn't it, as well? It's just on where your thumb would be. It's quite natural.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you'll find that with all the switch gear. Like I say, it's almost a case of take a few minutes before you ride it, get familiar with the buttons, and you won't have to look at it when you're riding, because you'll find that you've always got your enter button, you've always got the return button, you've got the navigation, which are relatively easy to find, and the screen just gives you information in such a clear and precise manner. It just enables you to select the right modes. As you go up through the models as well, and you set up your modes, and particularly when we look at the electronic suspension model, that's always a good idea to sit down and do that beforehand. And then you can always change it when you stop, but it just gives you all that information to hand and makes it really easy to change the function of the bike as you're riding.
I'm pretty intrigued by it. As soon as I get on a new bike, and you know, in my role, I get to ride so many different makes and models. Some that are very, very basic in terms of their instrumentation and operation, but something like this actually it's really intriguing, because in this sort of technologically focused era, we've got, specifically on this model, we've got so much touchscreen. You know, of course, it's touchscreen when you're standing still, but it can't be on the move. But you've got so many buttons there, and it's all about familiarisation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's not
Absolutely.
every single rider. We're not covering what everybody would like to do with those buttons. Perhaps some would get a bit daunted by it, but I think that actually with a little bit of time, like you said, 5 or 6 minutes even.
Yeah, absolutely. I always set 5 or 6 minutes before I ride, just to make sure I'm comfortable. And if you think about it, look at how we operate our mobile phones with one hand. You know, I can have a conversation with my son. He doesn't even look at his phone, and he'll talk to me whilst he's still typing. And I'm not saying you get to that level, but certainly knowing where the navigation buttons are will get you around the bike easily. On the Adventure Twin, you've got adjustable seat height, and you've got a lower seat option as well. And like we said before, you've got narrow tank, so you've got a nice ideal standing up position. You'll also notice there's a slightly smaller peak on the screen as well, which just aids you when you are standing up.
So seat height, there's 2 available as standard, and then if you want a lower seat height or a taller seat height, you can buy those at point of sale, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that gives you the option, again, for people who just prefer to have their feet a little bit more planted on the ground, like me. You can go for those options. So again, you've got such a flexibility in the bike, and Honda's really great at doing that, making a bike that will fit a large number of people, you know, in whatever riding style they have, really.
And some of the other features, this new model, this 2020 model, it's been revised. There's less rigidity in the frame, and also the subframe is now detachable as well, which I think helps if you are going to be doing your green lanes or going off-road a bit.
Yeah, and it's always a big demand from the true green laners and off-roaders. They always want a detachable subframe for obvious reasons. So that's been made available now, which will please a lot of people, I'm absolutely sure.
And on this model, you've got standard spokes, which of course give you the option of having tubed tyres, which again, a bit more convenience. 21-inch front, 18 rear, same as the rest of the range as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it comes with Apple CarPlay, as per the rest of the models, which just adds that extra level of connectivity. You know, I'm a great one for plugging in my iPod and listening to my tunes. Set up your headset, it's dead easy to connect. It's a couple of minutes again, just to set up your Bluetooth on your headset. You can, you know, manage your phone and your music and stuff, and some of my music's quite inappropriate, but I do like to have it playing whilst I'm riding. So it's the all-round package, really. I know we said this is an off-road focused machine, but it's equally as happy on the road. So you know, if that's the model you prefer for looks, or just you prefer the small screen, then absolutely. This one really is about getting most out of the machine, most feel as well. When we look at the Adventure Sport, we'll look at, you know, how the ergonomics change slightly to give you a more comfort on-road feel.
Shall we? Seems like the perfect opportunity
absolutely.
to move around, have a look at
look.
the Adventure Sports. Now this is the particular model with the electronic suspension as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, I'd urge anybody buying one, or even just test riding one, because, you know, please do go and test ride them. Take the time beforehand to sit through the infinite amount of suspension adjustments you can make. Again, very easy through the touch screen. And the navigation buttons to set it up, you know, for preload, for dampening, for damping, I should say, for one rider, 2 riders, luggage, so on and so forth. So then you can pre-select before you ride each journey and make sure the bike's set up right for you. Lot larger fuel tank, 24.8 litres, which should give you, I believe, somewhere around about 250, 280 miles, depending on how you ride. Obviously, it comes down to how you ride the bike ultimately. But that's plenty for those long motorway journeys. I know I always like to stop every 100 miles or so and stretch my legs, certainly.
It's a great combination, isn't it? It's got the economy and it's got the comfort as well. Certainly, I've ridden this particular model a fair amount. I've done several hundred miles, and already, you can feel the differences between this particular model with its redesigned seat and the riding position. It is very, very comfortable.
Yeah,
and actually, to those 270 odd miles, will breeze by.
Absolutely, and you've got heated grips on this model, which are easily accessible via the function button on the right-hand side, and then you can adjust it on the left as well as the same interaction navigation on the Africa Twin. Like I say, you've also got the additional settings for the suspension, as well as across all models, the user modes, where you have two individual user modes where you can set them up specifically in terms of engine power, engine braking, traction control, even anti-wheelie, which clearly I don't need. But yeah, so it is ultimately you can individualize it to your own specific needs. So one great feature I love, Michael, being a predominantly road rider, is the adjustable screen, which is dead easy to adjust. Gone are the days where you had to get the Allen key set out. It's dead easy to adjust for the different roads. And again, I find if it's a nice sunny day, or if I'm working through traffic, I like to put the screen nice and low. But equally, if it's cold or just one of those buffety days, you can put the screen up and you'll get adequate coverage without obscuring your vision. So I just find it great to be able to adjust that for any kind of occasion that I'm riding.
Equally, in the bikes are probably a little squatted down. If you've got a pillion, if you've got luggage, if it's weighing a bit more, you can not only adjust the screen for your benefit and your pillion's benefit, but also the suspension settings are incredibly complex. So much as that you've got all those preload settings. You've almost got the automatic settings, of which there are 4, I think, rider plus luggage, rider plus pillion, and then luggage on top of that as well. But then there are so many different settings, you can find that perfect balance to where you and your pillion are the most comfortable.
Absolutely.
I was just going to mention as well that particularly with the DCT, and the same goes for the Goldwing model as well, you get that extra level of comfort where you're not having that almost that helmet clashing. So that smoothness of the gearbox, the smoothness of the engine, the way in which the throttle connection works, and you've got a really comfortable touring bike.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, the suspension settings, there's an infinite combination, so you can really fine tune it to the weight that you're carrying, the luggage, the way that you ride, and then map it to your rider modes as well. So again, all I would urge people to do is take a little bit of time to set it up correctly. For me, I like the Honda settings because I think they get it right for me personally. But I do like to have a play around with the individual settings, and you can do that on this bike without upsetting the other settings. So you can set them up for yourself.
Yeah, again, when I was riding, I quite liked having the setting where you've got rider plus luggage, even though I didn't have any luggage. It just felt a little bit firmer at the rear for me, for the way I want to ride the bike.
Absolutely.
In the same way that it was fantastic. It was almost unnoticeable, and that's a good thing about that front suspension, where the electronics work so quickly, and it's thanks to that that IMU in there. You're over a potted road or a nasty road, let's call it, and all of a sudden you're almost gliding just in the way in which the suspension offers you that comfort.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's when you look at the adventure style of the bike, that's a refinement that you probably don't expect. So I would urge anybody who's looking at Africa Twin, have a look at the adventure sport with electronic suspension, because it really does add that extra element. And if you are doing a lot of miles, it gives you that flexibility to change depending on the time of year, the style of riding, the type of journey you're doing. For example, I do a lot of motorway miles, but I also live relatively close to Lake District, so often we tend to like to go out and find some twisty roads. So I like to be able to adapt the bike to that as well. And I found that when we was in Yorkshire last week, it was we had quite a mix of roads. We were obviously riding around Chad's back garden, and he knew where to go in terms of the twisty roads, the gravelly bits, and there was a couple of a few fast straights as well. So you can quite easily adapt the bike to suit.
Well, we've talked about functionality, we've talked about versatility, and the range on offer here it really does cover all those bases. And of course, with all the versatility and the functionality with all this, the range, and including, of course, all those modes, be it off-road, be it gravel, there's a fantastic place to try it all, and it's here, and it's pictured behind us. It's the Dave Thorpe Honda Off-Road Adventure Centre. Let's go and find out a little bit more about that. And we're already into our third set of questions. Again, thank you for sending them in, both email and in the chat as well. But before we start on that, Alan, let's just touch a little bit on the finance options and finance packages available.
Yeah, certainly. Honda, as the company they are, Honda Financial Services, have a wide range of financial packages to help people get onto the bikes they want. Do speak to your dealer, they can go through all the offers. Check out the Honda website. There are always offers on the website and they're always kept updated. So do have a look at that, chat to your dealer, and I'm sure you'll find a package that suits to get you onto the bike that you want.
Excellent stuff.
Now, before we go any further, Michael, I've got a question for you. So
present.
Gareth Ellis asks, what has the impact been in moving from 1000cc to 1100cc, and is there really much of a difference? And I know you've ridden both bikes recently.
Yes, yes, there is a difference ultimately. I think if you were to ride the two bikes in isolation weeks, months, years apart, it would be difficult to tell. But I think if you did get to try them back to back, it's much easier. The newer model, the 1100, is the whole package. Honda's, it's not just about making the capacity larger, it's about creating a better engine that's more compliant with modern day emissions. It's all about the smoothness, efficiency, attractability, and ultimately the rider experience. So yes, there is.
Brilliant, yeah. And I kind of knew that's where you'd go with that, because that's what Honda do. It's the evolution of the machinery, absolutely. Thank you. It is, far away.
Sarah Mitchell, she's been in touch saying, can you clarify if the airbag is available on both DCT and manual Goldwing Tours?
Goldwing, yeah. So the Tour comes with DCT, airbag on the DCT as standard, and there is an option for an airbag on the manual, but it comes as standard on the DCT.
Good stuff. Moving on, John Osborne. It's quite a long one. For an experienced rider who has had a couple of Triumphs, a Transalp, an off-road Yamaha and many other bikes, but now has 2 total hip replacements and desperately wants a bike to do a mix of riding on normal country roads up to 60 miles per hour and green lanes, how does it compare to the XADV? Yeah,
good question. I can speak with a little bit of personal experience on this as well. I've had a knee replacement, not 2 hips, just 1 knee, but I went through that whole kind of questioning of what I could ride and how comfortable it would be. The only answer is go to your dealer, try the bike, sit on them. The Africa Twin has an option of seat height. So standard bike is 850 millimeters to 870 millimeters. There's a low seat option of 825 millimeters, which is actually quite a significant difference when you sit on the bike. There is a taller option as well. One thing I would say, speaking from that kind of replacement experience, is the kind of, I call it the bum to heel height. So the distance from the seat to my foot peg is really good on here. So it creates a lot of comfort and a lot of maneuverability. So do try the bike out and see how you get on. But yeah, it's a really I found it a really comfortable bike, both on and off road. So. Yeah,
the new seat, the new bike, the 2020 range is significantly better, I think, than the old one. We often talk about seat to peg to handlebar as well, that sort of triangle, and it's a better riding position now.
Yeah, no, I found that. Yeah, really good.
Moving on, Views from the Man Cave asks, can the shorter screen of the 1100L be fitted to the Adventure Sports model?
Yeah, it's quite the same bracket, so you can. It's kind of, myself, I like to change screens, particularly through the different seasons, or if I'm doing a particularly long motorway journey, I like to put a taller screen on. I like the option on the Adventure Sports that you can manually move it up and down anyway, but yeah, you can put the lower screen on.
Good stuff. Michael Coates asks, what is the future for DCT?
Oh, hang on, crystal ball time. I don't know, but what I can tell you is what the history is. You know, it's 10 years now.
Yes.
We introduced the DCT, dual clutch transmission, in 2010. And let me tell you what happened in the first year. Within the first year, Honda went through this radical evolution and improved the fluid dynamics by over 40%, changed the mapping to suit the European rider style a lot more, and made a massive improvement in year 1. They continued to do that, and on the current version, it's so smooth. There's such a difference when you go between the modes as well. Plus, you've got the manual operation, so there's pretty much a setting for everybody in there. So yeah, I can only imagine that's going to continue. It's going to be refined. The switch gears changed over the years and become more easily manageable. So I can only see that continuing, really.
I think if anybody had any concerns over DCT, again, if it were possible to ride the 2010 version versus the 2020 version, you could see exactly how far it's come along already.
Yeah.
Great technology. Speaking of which, we are going to move back to the rolling road, and we're going to talk about DCT in greater detail. Just coming up. Well, and here we are on the rolling road, Honda's rolling road. They've been used this at shows throughout the country, giving people the opportunity to experience what these DCT gearbox is like. But I know it's been around for 10 years, and I know that almost half of Africa Twins sold in 2019 had the DCT box, and 2/3 of Goldwings as well, which is an incredible stat. And it just shows how, you know, the technology's moved on and got better and better. But what does it mean? And give us the basics of how that function works.
Sure. First off, Michael, I'll tell you what it isn't. It isn't an automatic. Let's just dispel that myth straight away. It's a electronically actuated manual gearbox. It has a manual gearbox, has 2 clutch packs, has a very clever system of engaging the next gear, depending on the information you're given the bike, and it will cut out that transition from one gear to the other. So you get a nice seamless transition from one gear to the other, a nice smooth ride. It's evolved over the years. We introduced it in 2010, and even in the first 12 months, the first kind of evolution reduced the fluid dynamics by 40% and changed the mapping to suit the more European style of riding. So it's been on this constant path of evolution. It's a great piece of kit to have on any bike, and it just takes away that thought process of having to think about clutch, gears, slipping the clutch, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you've got a long ride or you're covering lots of miles, which is what this bike's designed to do, actually you can just pop it into an automatic mode, not automatic, but an automatic mode, and just enjoy the road. Alternatively, you can switch it into manual, and you've got 2 paddles down here, or triggers, I should say, they're more like triggers, and you can slip between each gear, and again, without having to think about the clutch, you'll get this seamless transition. It auto blips on the way down, so it's a nice feeling to it as well, and it will change gears faster than you ever will. So if you're a sporty rider, test ride it, put it into sport mode and see what you think, but you'll find it really, really impressive.
All right, well, let's see it in action. This is actually a section that we recorded slightly earlier because this particular piece of kit is very, very noisy. All right, here it is.
Right, Michael, so what you have seen there on that short clip is I started the bike, I put it into automatic mode, drive, and I just pushed on or twisted the twist grip, took it up through the revs, and the bike automatically goes through each gear. Really, really seamless. Don't forget, we are sitting on a rolling road, so the suspension is tied down. And then I brought it all the way down to 0, popped it into the manual mode, and then I just worked my way through the trigger buttons to take it up through the gears and back down again. Now, let me just tell you a bit more about what happens whilst I'm doing that. In essence, because of the information systems on the bike, the sensors, the 6-axis IMU, the ECU, the bike's reading all the time my demands, what I'm asking it to do through the throttle by wire, and then it's pre-selecting the next relevant gear, whether that's up or down. It's pre-selecting the next gear. So if I'm in 3rd gear and I'm asking for more power, it's going to pre-select 4th gear. It has twin clutch packs. So at any one time, 1 gear is engaged. But what it means is as it disengages the 3rd gear and then engages the 4th gear, there is a seamless transition of power. And it continually does that far quicker than I can pull on a lever. So whether I'm going up the gearbox, down the gearbox, or even chopping and changing in between. And if I'm not happy with the way it's changing out, like I said, I can switch to to manual mode and do it myself. So it's such an efficient system. Like I said, in the previous piece, you know, in the first year, they improved it. They've now gone through this whole kind of 10 years of development with DCT, or dual clutch transmission. And not only is there the mechanical side where they refined the way that it uses the fluid and the size of the clutch packs, but also the software that runs it as well. So they've changed the mapping. So that includes the fueling, where the revs cut in, where they cut out, where it changes up and down, and so on and so forth. So it's far more refined than it ever was. And I believe you rode one a few years ago.
I had a long-term bike from Honda when the reincarnation of the Africa Twin came out in 2016, and I certainly remember, and I've ridden this version as well, and I can tell immediately how that system has progressed, and it's so much smoother than it used to be. And you know, the technology behind it, it's so much more. It predicts what you're going to do. There's a lot less of changing gear in the corner, and it's just a better system, isn't it now? And that, you know, it's a great evolution. Good. Well, the technology's come on leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years? All right, good stuff. All right, well, coming up soon, or coming up next, in fact, is the final question and answer session. So be quick, get your questions in, and we'll do our best to answer them.
One of the significant changes Honda has made over the last 12 months is to develop a network of Goldwing specialist dealers. Each dealer will have a dedicated and trained Goldwing specialist who can explain all of the functionality and features of each bike. They'll have dedicated demonstrators, both manual and DCT, a wide range of Goldwing parts and accessories, as well as a Goldwing trained technician. Courtesy bikes are also available for Goldwing customers. Now you can still order your Goldwing through your local dealer, but for that extra Goldwing experience, please do contact your nearest Goldwing specialist dealer.
And we come to our final set of answers to your questions. The time has flown by already. There's been a few comments about the bikes looking big in the shots, and perhaps we should be the ones to come forward. There we go. How's that? Better? Right, Alan, we've got Chris O'Neill who asks, oh, I like this one. Will there be a similar event for the new Fireblade?
Well, I certainly hope so. Obviously, it's the first time Honda have done this live stream, so it really depends on the feedback and what you guys think, really. So if you've enjoyed the event, let us know, and we can hope, keep our fingers crossed that Honda will open it up to other bikes. That would be great to do Fireblade.
Yeah, fantastic bike. Lots to talk about with that as well. Big upgrades, updates, and of course it went so well at Donington at BSB.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Daryl Green is next. He asks, he's about to invest in a DCT Goldwing Tour. He says, when braking hard, does drive disengage automatically? Or does the rider have to press the neutral button as there's no clutch to pull in?
Okay, this is quite a complicated answer, really, because one, you should really have drive engaged all of the time. Any bike instructor will tell you that. But no, it doesn't. But what it will do is, through the engine management controls of the DCT, it will match the relevant gear to the rev range of the engine. So you'll constantly be in the right gear, so you can always put power back on. And again, you get a little bit of extra help from the engine braking. But what I would say is go and ride the bike and try it, see how it feels. It rides amazingly well. So I don't think you'll have any issues in terms of freewheeling or that type of thing. So should be pretty good. It's
nice to have so many questions about DCT as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Charles Raleig's been on again, Goldwing Owners Club, asking what are the address input formats on the integrated GPS?
Oh, good. Again, another good question, and obviously a Tourer, because it's something I'm quite concerned about when buying a bike. Now, it's a Garmin system. You've got full postcode. You've got street address and town. You can set up your plan on either Trip Planner, which is a Honda website, or I know a lot of guys use Basecamp. You can download your route onto your USB, plug it into the bike and import it. As you go into the menu, you see an import button there. You can also export your route as well. So if you're free routing or tracking and logging, which again you can do on the system, and then you can keep that route or share that with your fellow travelers on your forums or websites and things like that, or for future journeys. So you'll find the system fully functional as you would expect on an iconic bike.
Fantastic, thank you. That's all. Well done.
Did I pass?
Yes, you got them all right. Well done. I don't think there's a prize. I think we've got you out of watching Coronation Street now as well. So we've come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for all your questions. I'm sorry if we didn't get to yours. But we've got 2 more live streams tomorrow at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. So feel free to come back or tell all your friends. And again, don't forget to get down to your local dealership for a test ride. You can be in with a chance of earning yourself one of those Honda Racing BSB Polo shirts, which look rather splendid. Also, feel free to visit the Honda Engine Room website or, of course, Bike Social to go and get your news, views, reviews, and all sorts of great information. But as far as we're concerned, we're done. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.